Between 1998 and 2013, the average spending per pupil in the United States public education system increased by over 80%. During this same time period, total education expenditures increased by about 45%. With that being said, graduation rates only increased by 11.2%, and average SAT math scores by 0.5%. Because of these statistics, our team is led to believe that other factors must be playing into the overall success rate of students within our public education system. Our team gathered data and information that could help us answer the following questions. Number 1. What are the main variables affecting student performance in the United States? 2. Does increased spending improve academic performance? 3. What is the best use of educational funds? And 4. What can be done in order to improve the effectiveness of the U.S. public education system? Our team broke down the problem at the state level and attempted to explain what is affecting the overall trends of academic performance across the 50 states and the District of Columbia. After that, we decided to look even further and analyze several states individually by school district in order to better understand our findings and expand to different explanatory variables. In order to conduct this analysis, we compiled year-specific data from the National Center for Education Statistics, federal data records, the nation's report card, the National Assessment of Educational Progress, federal census records, and individual state Department of Education databases. After obtaining our datasets, we established several metrics with which to gauge educational success, including graduation rates, standardized test scores, and the percentage of students continuing on to college.
In order to conduct our analysis, we used a software called Stata, which has the power to perform regression on longitudinal datasets. Because we used data from over 10 years, we needed this software in order to measure the selected variables consistently across all years. This was accomplished by using fixed effects, which allows the model to account for trends by determining the amount of variance which can be attributed to the difference in years and isolating the correlation resulting from the differences in states and districts. At the state level, we first ran a fixed effects regression to estimate the variance in graduation rates as a result of 5 explanatory variables. These variables included per pupil spending, total educational expenditures, student-to-teacher ratio, percentage of population in poverty, and median household income. All 5 of these explanatory variables accounted for 31.12% of the variation in graduation rates, with the most significant variables being the percentage of population in poverty, per pupil spending, and total educational expenditures. As total expenditures increased by $1 million, graduation rates increased by 0.0005%. As per pupil spending increased by $1,000, graduation rates increased by 0.0003%. With this being said, the positive correlation between these two variables stayed consistent with our predictions before running our regression. Next, we looked at the percentage of graduating students going directly to college. To summarize our findings, we can confidently say that 25.48% of the variance in this data is a result of our 5 explanatory variables. Per pupil spending, total educational expenditures, and the student-to-teacher ratio all have positive correlations with percentage of graduates going directly to college. These findings further explain our conclusions when analyzing graduation rates and staying consistent with our pre-analysis predictions. Contrary to our pre-analysis predictions, the percentage of population in poverty had a positive correlation with graduation rates, and the student-to-teacher ratio had a positive correlation with the percentage of graduates going directly to college. These two conclusions contradict any predictions we made before conducting this analysis, but the relationships were analyzed further within our district regressions and were found to be insignificant. Overall, our state analysis concluded that as total spending and per pupil spending increases, graduation rates and the percentage of students going directly to college increase as a result. The inability to gather sufficient data at the state level constrained us from getting a more detailed understanding of specific funding and academic achievement, and although these were significant findings, we believe that these metrics are only one aspect that determines student success. In order to further analyze this concern and get a more detailed understanding of the effect of funding and other significant variables on academic achievement, we broke down more specific metrics at the district level.
We separately analyzed the school district data from Florida, Texas, and California. These states are located in different areas of the country, and they all had a different number of school districts. Our results found that average teacher salary had a positive correlation with graduation rates and SAT scores. In both Florida and California, we were 99% confident that a $1,000 increase in teacher salary will increase graduation rates by 0.6% on average while keeping all other variables constant. Given that graduation rates are represented as a percentage, a large increase in teacher salary may have a significant positive impact. We also found that increasing average teacher salary by $1,000 is expected to increase average SAT scores by 14.8 points. This is not a huge point increase given the cost of teacher salaries. A 14-point increase will not make a measurable difference between a good and an excellent SAT score unless the teacher's salary increases by a significantly larger amount. We do believe that increasing teacher salaries will be beneficial because it may bring in better candidates during the hiring season, especially with schools who are struggling to find better qualified teachers. Therefore, school districts in Florida and California who want higher graduation rates should consider increasing teacher salaries. However, increasing these salaries would be a very hefty expenditure for just improving SAT scores. Next, we looked at per student spending and found that it had a positive correlation with graduation rates, but it was inconsistent when looking at SAT scores. Increasing spending per student by $1,000 is expected to increase graduation rates on average by 3.7%. However, when testing average SAT scores, per student spending either had a negative correlation or it was insignificant. We believe this can be explained because increases in spending may not necessarily correlate to the quality of education being received. To break it down even further, we included variables that showcase where schools are allocating their money. Increasing spending towards special education programs had a negative effect on SAT scores. Also, graduation rates can decrease when spending per student goes towards instructional expenditures and student services, while the opposite effect happens when spending goes towards employee benefits and general administration. From these results, maybe the amount of money schools are putting towards these special programs are not as cost effective as they seem. We're not saying that schools need to get rid of some of these expenditures, but perhaps schools should refocus their strategy to discover how to allocate resources more efficiently.
This research could have positive implications for the field of public education. Increasing or cutting funding for public schools is a contentious issue which can be often difficult to address. What these findings show is that increased educational funding will not necessarily improve the quality of education received or improve test scores. Unfortunately, our analysis failed to accurately identify the driving factors between SAT and NAEP scores, meaning that further research needs to be done in order to accurately identify how schools can improve these numbers and increase their students' ability to perform in the classroom. However, what we found is that increased funding is correlated to an increase in graduation rates, meaning that school districts or states with low graduation rates could benefit from increased funding. This makes sense due to the overall trend which shows graduation rates increasing along with spending over the analyzed time period, albeit not by much. In order to maximize efficiency, districts or states who are looking to raise graduation rates through increased funding should focus on raising teacher salaries, which has the strongest effect on graduation rates across our analysis. There is still a lot that needs to be learned about what makes a successful student, but what our analysis found is that while continuing to increase funding may lead to higher graduation rates, it does not correlate with other factors of academic performance, and increasing funding blindly may lead to a bloated and expensive system without much return on investment.